Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Now available on Apple Podcasts, PodcastOne, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
PodcastOne presents the Steve Austin Show Classics.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I'm coming to the main streets of Los Angeles, California, here at my house at 316 Gimmick Street. Started off to be a hell of a morning. Let me break in on how my morning went. Got up about 6:30 a.m., started drinking coffee, got out of bed, and came into my office and tried to start recording a podcast in which I break down the Wrestlemania 13 match between myself and Bret Hart with Ken Shamrock as a special referee. I took a swing at that and did a pretty good job of covering that match, giving you some of the details that went into that match and some of the stuff that transpired coming out of that match. And then it was time for me to get across town to go get a facial that my wife had booked an appointment for at 9:30 in the morning. Well, by the time I got in the shower, it was 9 a.m., and then by the time I left, it was about 10 after 9, and so I was in traffic on Lincoln Boulevard, which is here in Marina, Venice, on the way to Beverly Hills, where I was supposed to get my illustrious facial. And, yeah, that's right, the toughest SOB in the history of the WWF, going to get a facial at 9:30 in the morning. And I did not want to go to begin with, but my wife booked this appointment because I'd been out in the sun for a solid month out there in the Broken Skull Challenge, getting my ass beat up by UVA and UVB rays. So, although I didn't want to go to the facial, I must make my appointment because it was scheduled for 9:30 a.m. Off to a late start, rush hour traffic, on a Thursday morning, kicking my ass. And I had a business phone call to make. So I got on my new iPhone 6, and I had forgotten my headset, and I didn't know how to hook up this phone to my Bluetooth in my SUV. So I thought the law said that you could hold up an iPhone and speak on speakerphone and be safe to drive, and you were not breaking the laws. Anyway, I was talking to the dude on the iPhone 6, holding it up about 2 feet from my head, and I see a cop coming from behind me on a motorcycle. And man, I see people talk like this all the time on the phone, so I thought I was cool. But there's something inside of me said, I'm about to get pulled over. Sure enough, I looked up in that rearview mirror. The blue and reds came on, and I was getting busted. So I put on my left-hand blinker, got in the center turn lane, turned off and pulled over, put my hands at 11 and 1 o'clock on the steering wheel, removed my baseball cap and my sunglasses, and sat there and wait for the officer to approach. I also rolled down all my windows on my vehicle so I could see in there. He comes up, tells me what I did wrong, asks for my driver's license, my registration, and my insurance. I asked permission to go into my front pocket to get my driver's license, and then if it's okay to get in the console and the glove box to get the other stuff out. And he said, yep, that's cool. Handed him all my documents. He went back to his motorcycle, did his paperwork, come back, and presented me with a ticket. And I said, officer, I'm not arguing with you. I said, I thought it was legal to talk on a speakerphone as long as you didn't have it up to your head. He said, nope. He goes, that's not the law. It's hands-free. He goes, you cannot have the phone in your hand. I said, okay, you got me. No argument. He was very cool. I was very cordial and polite to him as well. And I said, thank you very much. And he walked away and got back on his motorcycle, and he's continuing to fight crime out there in the streets of Los Angeles. I sit there and pondered the fact that I just gotten a ticket, and I knew that I was going to be late for my appointment to get a facial. So I called my illustrious wife, Kristen, and told her that I was on the side of the road. It was already 9:30. That was when I was supposed to be getting the facial, getting all the blackheads squeezed out of my face before I go down to South Texas and hunt for a month and a half. So I told her to call the lady up, tell her I'll pay for the time that I consumed or would have consumed on the hour visit that I was booked for, so she didn't lose any money. It was my bad on missing the appointment. It was my responsibility. I can't stand to be late for nothing. So anyway, I didn't want her to not get paid for the time that I was supposed to be in there getting my facial. So anyway, I don't know what a facial costs, but that's what I paid the lady, and my wife's going to send her a damn check. I'm pissed off because I was so stupid to get a ticket, and I couldn't find my headset, and I never go anywhere without my damn headset. Never, because I don't want to get a ticket, and I'm a safe driver. That being said, the officer did a great job, and I appreciate one of Los Angeles' finest pulling me over and giving me the heads up to what the law is, because there's so many damn idiots out there texting, driving, doing all that other stuff, and I get a little come to Jesus meeting, and, if I'm driving in an unsafe fashion or if I'm breaking the law, I need to get warned and get a ticket and pay the consequences. So I'm going to pay my ticket, go down the road, and you'll never see me riding down the road with an iPhone in my hand talking on speakerphone, because I know what the law is right now. And if any of you out there that listen to the Steve Austin Show or in California, our law says you can talk on the phone, you could just not have it in your hand. So get you a headset, hook it up to your Bluetooth, or be on speakerphone, and don't get busted like I did. Learn your lesson firsthand from a global icon and a national treasure. Steve Austin, here to smarten a brother or a sister up. Hey, check it out. It's Thursday as I record this podcast. It's the day before Friday when we leave for the Broken Skull Ranch. I'm turning this show in early because Stacy's going on vacation with her boyfriend. They're heading over to see a Notre Dame football game. They're going to go to see a Chicago Blackhawks game and a Chicago Bears game at Soldier Field. So I'm turning this show in early. I hope y'all have a good time out there, Stacy, and safe travels. And I'm just fixing to get my ass up here after I finish breaking down Wrestlemania 13 for you guys. Start packing up the RV, getting everything together, all my clothes, all my bullets, a couple of my guns that I'm taking, all our food items that we're taking. And we got a new little gimmick box. It's about, man, I don't know how many square feet that thing is, as far as cubic feet, as far as the container goes. It's one of those things that you slide into the receiver hitch on the back of your vehicle to give you some extra storage space. That new RV we got is a little bit on the small side with regards to storage space. So we'll be able to carry our extra dog food, our extra water, and all the stuff that we don't need on a daily basis to pack all that stuff down there. So we're packing up. We're fixing to get down on the road. We're going to make it to Las Cruces, pull over there for the night, and then make it on into the Broken Skull Ranch. By the time you guys listen to this, I will already have been there. But nonetheless, also before I get into it and break down WrestleMania 13, I got some new T-shirts out. If you go to BrokenSkullRanch.com and hit the merch button, you can check out all the T-shirts I wore on last season of the Broken Skull Challenge. And you can also go to Pro Wrestling Tees and get the same stuff there. Just look for Steve Austin. And a lot of the other guys over there got some cool shirts, so check their stuff out as well. And with that being said, I got a hell of a podcast for you today. I decided to finally call the Bret Hart match from WrestleMania 13. I just talked to Bret on the phone the other day, and we were having a great conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing Bret again. He's over there in England, and he's doing kind of like a one-man tour. And a lot of the guys are going over there these days. And it came up in an article on my Google alert. Anything that says Stone Cold Steve Austin, they send an email to my email address, and I see, what's being said about me or how I made the news somehow. And in this story, it was in an article by the Inquisitor, and it's talking about how Bret Hart risked his career by blading me during our WrestleMania 13 match. So I'm going to cover the details of that once we get into the body of the podcast. And first of all, did Bret cut me with a razor blade? Yes, indeed he did. That part is true. How he goes about telling it is his side of the story. My side of the story, and I'm not saying, Bret gives a good account of what happened, but my account is what actually happened. He's in the ballpark. There's just a few specifics that he did not touch upon. So I'm going to break those down on this podcast. Talk about, how we go into that match, me as a heel, him as a baby, and then doing a double turn. Also emphasize the importance of Ken Shamrock and the importance of the commentary laid down by Jim Ross, Vince McMahon, and Jerry Lawler, and a couple of random facts that obviously you'd never know about that happened in that match. I will give you those here on today's podcast.
You're listening to another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show, only on PodcastOne.
It's time to play Myth versus Fact, brought to you by Concrete. Myth: creatine is just for bodybuilders or heavy weightlifters. Fact: creatine is for any fitness routine/activity. Myth: creatine is a type of steroid. Wrong. Fact: Creatine is a natural molecule that your body produces and is present in various foods. Myth: creatine is used to, quote, bulk up. Wrong. Fact: creatine helps with lean muscle gains, increased strength, endurance, and fitness. Myth: all creatines have side effects. Wrong. Concrete is the only microdosed creatine and avoids negative side effects. Boom. Concrete is the #1 stimulant-free pre-workout supplement. And it's not just for working out. I do it before I podcast. I do it before I knock out a bunch of emails. I do it before I go take a walk around the block. It's just a nice little boost. It tastes delicious. You know, you guys need to check it out. It's a great stocking stuffer. And just think about it. Your brain uses 20% of the creatine in your body just to think. Concrete fuels your body and your mind. Even immune cells need it to protect the body, and the heart needs it to pump, the lungs need it to breathe. Every cell must have creatine to function at its best. Take control of your health, both body and mind, building a better you with Concrete. Register now at concrete.com/podcast. That's CON-CRET.com/podcast to receive free membership to Planet Fitness for an entire year, plus a $500 Walmart Visa gift card, available now online and in-store at Walmart. Concrete is truly changing the game.
Hey man, do you own or rent your home? Sure you do, and I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. All right, everybody, here we go. I told you guys I was going to break down the action that transpired between myself, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and the one and only Bret the Hitman Hart. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Give you some of the stories and some of the stuff that happened on before that match, during the match, after the match. And right now I am queued up on WWE Network. My time code in the upper left-hand corner. I'm 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 43 seconds into the event. This is WrestleMania 13 on the WWE Network. Now, this is the pre-match package, which basically sums up the storyline of what was going on at the time. I had become red hot, starting to kind of turn babyface, although I was still a very violent heel. People were starting to cheer me. Bret, through positioning of his storylines and his angles, was kind of starting to complain and piss and moan a little bit. And so people were starting to turn just a tad against him, although he certainly maintained a very strong babyface fan base. And I was starting to cultivate a very strong babyface fan base, although for the majority I was still a heel. And so in this match, we go in and we're trying to execute a double turn. Bret goes in as a baby, leaves as a heel. I go in as a heel, leave as a baby. But now, not 100% on either one of us because there's work to do on the back end, but the directions, the tide changed after a perfect execution within the storyline and the work done on this match. Great work done on Bret the Hitman Hart's part, myself included. Ken Shamrock, coming in from the UFC, was the perfect guy to referee this match. Brought a lot of outside eyeballs from his sport into the business of pro wrestling. And, you know, Ken wanted to be a pro wrestler way back in the day and was training to be a professional wrestler, and then he got into the fight game. So he brought instant credibility into this match. Everybody knew him at the time for a shoot. He was the toughest man in the world. And when you think about the three elements inside the ring, great components made for a great match. But then you had three other components calling the match: Jim Ross, Vince McMahon, and Jerry Lawler. And here's an important thing to pay attention to during this match. First of all, within the structure of the match, you know, Bret's very aggressive, and in many times I'm selling somewhat like a babyface. Bret has me in a lot of jeopardy. Many times as heel, I was imposing my will, and so it was a back-and-forth match. Both of us got our stuff in, but Bret was very aggressive in this match, and it showed the vulnerability. And he goes low when he starts using a chair to dismantle me. But listen to the commentary. The commentary is so important during this match because from the beginning of the match, talking about the positive reception I get when I enter the ring, and then talking about Bret's reception when he comes to the ring, already starting to turn the tide. If you didn't know what to listen for as you watch this match as many times as you've seen it, now that you know what to listen and look for, watch the key elements and listen to all of the work done, especially on the back end. And I'll point this out when we get there in the match. The work on the back end of this match, the words from Lawler, Vince, and Jim Ross hammering home the point of the change in directions and how these people started to buy into Stone Cold Steve Austin and chant his name. And then on Lawler's part, saying that Bret could not be proud of this match, winning this match, because I never gave up. And we'll go into the color part of this match because let's go ahead and start it off right now. At this time, when WrestleMania 13 happened, WWF had a no-color policy. You were not supposed to blade. You could not bleed. Now, if you got busted open hard way style, if someone hit you, that was acceptable because it was truly an accident. And but we busted out a razor blade in this match. And Bret Hart wrote about this in his book. I hadn't really talked too much publicly about this. I took you through WrestleMania 17 with The Rock, and I called it the business at hand and me drawing the camera and where the obvious work is being done. But in Bret Hart's autobiography, he talks about this match, and he talks about cutting me. So I feel okay, talking about this. And right now, as we speak, I got a Google alert this morning. Bret Hart is over there in England doing some one-man shows and answering questions from fans, and talked about blading me that night, and says he risked his entire WWE career to do this during this match. And probably in theory he was risking his career, although Vince would never fire him for doing what we did because the match succeeded at such a high level. Had we bombed, maybe he was putting his career in jeopardy, but what he did was a very unselfish thing, because here's how it broke down. We go into Chicago to the Rosemount Horizon. When you go to a building like that, you go to the finish room. And things might have changed as far as the presentation of how it goes down today, but it was a very simple format back in the day and through really my whole entire career. When you go into a finish room, it's you, the promoter or booker, and your opponent. In this case, in Chicago, in Vince's office at the Rosemount Horizon, it was Vince McMahon, myself, and Bret the Hitman Hart. Vince sat us down and said, hey, here's what we're going to try to do. You guys go out there, have a hell of a damn match, back and forth action, and then in the end, the finish is going to be, Bret, you get Steve in a sharpshooter. The sharpshooter was Bret's trademark finish. Everybody tapped out in a sharpshooter because of how painful it was. And Bret had the sharpshooter over because once you got in that thing, you did not get out. It was over. So anyway, Vince goes on to say, Steve, when he gets you in the sharpshooter, don't tap out. You're going to stay in the sharpshooter so long, you're going to pass out from pain. And I sat there and I thought about it for a second, and I kept thinking about it, and, Bret was just kind of sitting over there doing his thing, and I said, man, you think that's a good finish? And he goes, oh yeah, Steve. He goes, I promise you, it's a good finish. Pass out in the middle of the ring with a sharpshooter. I said, okay. And Bret and I walked out. And we walked out to the ring, and we kind of went our separate ways for a little bit. And I started thinking about that. And I was just thinking about being in the middle of the ring in a sharpshooter and passing out. So I decided to double back and recheck with Vince that he really thought this was a good idea, because I was doubting him. I walked back in the finish room. And understand, when you go to a major pay-per-view and you want to change a finish, it's very hard to get that change accomplished. Unless you can present a valid argument, then you could change the outcome. I mean, you could, if you're scheduled to go in and lose a match, if you can present a strong enough argument why you should win that match, and it holds water, well, you can actually change a finish. I wasn't out to change the finish. I did not want to win the match. I was just trying to make sure that passing out because of pain in a sharpshooter would really work. So I go in there to Vince, and I say, hey, man, I'm good with doing what you want to do, but are you sure this is the best way to do it? And Vince, man, when Vince tells you something, and he truly believed with all conviction that this was a great finish, and he ended up being right. And he goes, oh, God dang, Steve, I'm telling you, it'll work. Just trust me. And that's all he needed to say. And I said, all right, man. I said, I'll do it. So I go down to the ringside, and me and Bret are just kind of kicking a few things around. And I wasn't excited about the match because I'm not a submission wrestler and didn't have just a whole lot of submission holds. Of course, Bret Hart did. Bret had a lot of holds, and the sharpshooter being the main one was a submission hold. So I really thought going into this town, going into this event, we were going to stink the joint out. And Chicago was starting to become a stronghold for me. Chicago fans really bought into me and gave me the opportunity. But they believed in Stone Cold Steve Austin. Whether it was a heel baby, whatever, they were buying into, hey, man, I was indeed a badass. And when I came to do business, you know, it was solid badass in-ring action and in-ring work that they could believe in. So Chicago worked for me from the get-go, and it had really started to turn the past few months. Every time we went to Chicago, people were buying into me. And so Bret and I just walked around a little bit, and we sat down, and we started talking about, okay, getting into that sharpshooter, how are we going to get there? And Bret had suggested a way to get into the sharpshooter just out of the blue from a transition spot. And that sounded too easy to me. And I said, man, what if you hit me in the head with that bell and then put it on? Okay, that was an idea, a good idea to get into the sharpshooter. We needed a reason to bring the bell into play and introduce it. And then the extension cord spot came about organically. And the chair spot in which he scissors the chair on my leg like I did Brian Pillman, to facilitate some of the other spots. And we had just a little bit of a game plan. If you hold up your hand in front of you and spread your fingers, there were about 5 key elements in that match that were supposed to happen. Everything else was called in the ring or was just made up due to back and forth work. Now, when you watch this match, you can clearly see, now you'll never see my mouth move, but you can see I'm calling the match. At one time, Bret tries to call an audible. I overrode him, and we went the direction that I wanted to go in. And I'm just telling this because this is the way it was and this is the way it happened. And I'll point this out during the match. But that was one of the most fun things about this match was a few key things that we knew were going to happen, and then we filled in the blanks. And there wasn't a whole lot of talking because it was just 2 guys who really knew how to work their ass off going out there and working, and that's what we did. And again, hats off to Ken Shamrock. Great job doing everything that he did, the way he enforced the rules, asking guys if they wanted to quit, and his positioning, always in the right place at the right time and never in the way. Ken did an awesome job. The Chicago Rosemount fans were on fire that night. And if you watch this entire pay-per-view, there's some good matches, but the crowd is not really into them as much as they are this one. This was a built match. It was perfect, and the package leading up to it told the story. I'm going to play this, and I'm going to record it. If the sound quality isn't that good, maybe Stacy can redub it in. I'm sitting here on my iPad on the WWE Network. I've got my Bose speaker hooked up on Bluetooth. I'm going to go ahead and record the pre-match package because it was so well executed and told a story.
You're listening to another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show, only on PodcastOne.
It's time to play Myth versus Fact, brought to you by Concrete. Myth: creatine is just for bodybuilders or heavy weightlifters. Fact: creatine is for any fitness routine/activity. Myth: creatine is a type of steroid. Wrong. Fact: creatine is a natural molecule that your body produces and is present in various foods. Myth: creatine is used to, quote, bulk up. Wrong. Fact: creatine helps with lean muscle gains, increased strength, endurance, and fitness. Myth, all creatines have side effects. Wrong. Concrete is the only microdosed creatine and avoids negative side effects. Boom. Concrete is the #1 stimulant-free pre-workout supplement. And it's not just for working out. I do it before I podcast. I do it before I knock out a bunch of emails. I do it before I go take a walk around the block. It's just a nice little boost. It tastes delicious. You know you guys need to check it out. It's a great stocking stuffer. And just think about it. Your brain uses 20% of the creatine in your body just to think. Concrete fuels your body and your mind. Even immune cells need it to protect the body, and the heart needs it to pump, the lungs need it to breathe. Every cell must have creatine to function at its best. Take control of your health, both body and mind, building a better you with Concrete. Register now at concrete.com/podcast. That's CON-CRET.com/podcast to receive free membership to Planet Fitness for an entire year, plus a $500 Walmart Visa gift card, available now online and in-store at Walmart. Concrete is truly changing the game.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, folks, here we go. Back to it. Calling the task at hand, WrestleMania 13, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Right now, I'm at 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 43 seconds, and here's the package.
Steve Austin, Bret the Hitman Hart, the submission match, and some of the events that led up to this extraordinary event at WrestleMania.
Imagine, for over a decade, you fought to reach the pinnacle of your profession. Through sweat and dedication, you've earned the respect of fans, friends, and even your adversaries. Then, you walk away. When you return 6 months later, nothing is the same.
I've been screwed by Shawn Michaels, the boy toy. I've been screwed by Stone Cold Steve Austin. I've been screwed by the World Wrestling Federation.
There are no friends.
There's kind of a new motto in the World Wrestling Federation. You scratch my back and I'll stab yours.
There is no respect.
Everybody in that dressing room knows that I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
Even your fans have changed. At the heart of this change is a man who spits in the face of your every accomplishment.
Ever since you came back, you ain't done nothing but cry.
He has gained fame by attacking you physically and verbally.
Steve Austin absolutely become obsessed with Bret Hart. Steve Austin is a rabid, he's a rabid animal.
This man mocks your legacy. He uses it as a stepping stone. Like a false prophet, he spews forth his rhetoric.
Bret Hart on his best day can't lace my boots, and I'm going to prove that to the world, and I will beat the hell out of Bret, and that's the bottom line.
His followers carry placards singing his praise. Injustice after injustice has finally caused you to snap.
Whoa! Frustrated isn't the word for it. This is...
Now, the finger is pointed at you. You're the one who's changed.
He's snapped, McMahon! He's lost it! Get him out of here! Drag him out! Just him! While my finger passes! That dirty, rotten son of a...
They say your ego is your enemy. What happened to you? There's only one solution. To awaken from this nightmare, you must defeat him. To regain your life and resume your legacy, you must make him beg for mercy as you squeeze the will from his bones. But what if Stone Cold Steve Austin wins? What becomes of Bret the Hitman Hart then?
All right, I tell you what, I got the pause button pushed right now. We're fixing to cue this thing back up. A few key things here. Todd Pettengill, I believe, was laying the voiceover for that package, and he did a great job explaining the situation at hand, whoever wrote that. Bret Hart always talks about him being a little bit weak in promos. At this point in Bret's career, I thought he was cutting some of the best promos in the business. I don't think he gives himself enough credit, or he's just being too humble about it. Maybe early on in his career, he wasn't so great on the mic, as he states. But I always thought that Bret's promos veered on the side of total realism and reality, and when he said something, he did it. and he spoke with passion and belief. He wasn't an over-the-top promo from an entertainment standpoint, but from credibility and pro wrestling as real standpoint. I really enjoyed Bret's promos and all that stuff, being frustrated and pushing Vince and isn't the damn word for it, as he said. And this is a family-friendly show. And like he said, he goes, everybody in that dressing room knows that I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. That was a total shoot on Bret's part. He truly believed that, and that's one of the things that I love so much about the Hitman character was Bret's conviction and his belief in himself and being the best. And when you believe you're the best, man, it just kind of permeates the entire building and everybody's belief because he was that good, and he's one of my favorite pro wrestlers of all time. All right, here we go. I'm going to cue this match back up, give you the time code, and we're going to rock and roll here with WrestleMania 13, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret the Hitman Hart. With special referee Ken Shamrock doing the officiating, Jim Ross, Vince McMahon, Jerry Lawler calling the action, telling a great story, setting the table. When I get through talking you through this match, go back and rewatch this match and listen to the commentary and watch how all along they're setting the table for the end result. Watch the work being done by Bret Hart, watch the work being done by myself. And I'm looking more, as Bret brings this match to me, more in a babyface role. I still get my trademark stuff in, still a vicious heel, but just watch the action unfold and listen to the story being told. As we cue this match up, my time code on my computer, on my iPad, on WWE Network, I'm on WrestleMania 13. The hour marker is 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 58 seconds. That's the mark. If you hit the play button, you'll be on the same speed with me. I'm going to hit the play button, and I'll never stop from this point forward until the announcers have finished covering the ground and telling the story about what has just transpired. 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 58 seconds is the mark to hit the start button. And let's hit the start button in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, here's Ken Shamrock's introduction to the crowd here in Chicago Rosemount Horizon. All right, there's Ken. Close-up shot, all jacked up, man. Got that tight referee shirt on. Looking good-looking dude, toughest guy in the world, having a hell of a run in the UFC, and it was the perfect guy to referee this match. Ken does a great job as a referee here. I don't know if he's ever refereed before. He's always out of the way. He enforces everything to the proper degree, and he just did a great job. I don't think anybody could have reffed this match better than Ken Shamrock did. Always had a lot of respect for him, too, in his career. He started off as a pro wrestler, went to MMA, then came back to pro wrestling. All right, here we go. Stone Cold Steve Austin fixed to bust through this glass. I love this Austin 316 glass here. Crash. Boom. There it goes. Stepping through. Check it out. A little on the aggressive side. I'm coming down at full confidence, full swagger. Don't touch me, you piece of trash. Still very aggressive. There's a lot of Austin 316 signs up already. But I'm in no business to be toyed with. Do not touch me. Man, I will knock your head off. Coming in, I'm going to hit a corner. A lot of head shaking back then. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm charged up in this match. As you listen to the pop I got, it was probably about 35-40% babyface. The rest was heel. I'm more of a heel in this match as perceived by the crowd and by my actions. There's a look right there that says, do not mess with me. Waiting for Bret to Hitman Hart's music to come over, so I'm going to go over and get in Ken Shamrock's face, letting him know that I ain't going to mess around with him. If he gets in my way, I'm going to slap him too. Ken says he's going to do his job, and he does a great job. Here's the thing. They're about to hit Bret's music. When you hear that guitar look, watch that look on my face. Ready to do business, brother. Always, never too high, never too low. And when that guitar chord strikes and you hear Bret Hart's music go, it'll put damn goosebumps all over your body. And here comes the legendary Bret the Hitman Hart. Taking his time, that music's still playing. Crowd's about to go crazy. Here he comes in the pink and black. Sunglasses, got the wet hair, leather jacket. Now, at this point in the storyline, Bret had been complaining a lot, and he kind of been started pissing and moaning a little bit, so people were starting to turn on him. Now, this was, obviously storyline because Bret doesn't piss and moan or complain about a whole lot. He was a road warrior who always made his shots and turned in a hell of a performance every time he went to the ring. Anytime Bret Hart stepped into the ring, he gave it everything he had. That's been my experience with him anyway. Okay, now watch. It's going to be a jump start because this is a built match. Watch the sideways look by me. I'm just, baiting him. Boom. Here we go. Tackle, down, spear, on top. Now we're going to keep this 50-50 for a pretty good while. Okay, Bret's back on top, throwing the malice down on Stone Cold Steve Austin. We're looking to finally making an exit out to the floor where we're going to go do battle and do some trade-offs down there. Keeping the energy high. Now watch. The crowd buys into this match from the beginning, hook, line, and sinker. Trading off, big right hands. Okay, now, as a heel, I'm going to let that baby face go ahead and be able to overpower me. Shot to the gut. Okay, who's going to throw? Backpedaling from Bret, getting ready to set up. Yep. Okay, now, back and forth, try to grab control, headlock. Going to shoot me off in the ring post. Boom. That's a good bump there. Totally looks like I smoked that damn ring post, which I did. Now, here's the thing, discombobulation. Bret's going to suplex me, attempt to, on the guardrail, but I'm going to reverse it. Watch the security guy in the orange. He gets in the way and messes up the spot. Boom. The crowd still popped, but it would have been better had the security guard not blocked Bret's fall onto that guardrail. Watch his clothesline. You see Bret's heart? Did you see Bret's arm get caught up underneath me? I felt that pressure, so I went over with him to let his arm get untrapped so he didn't break it. They'll show that again on the replay. And so this is basically a brawl. Boom, nice bump into the guardrail by Bret. Captain Lou right there. Tony Atlas, my old travel partner back in the day. And it's just a back-and-forth brawl up through the crowd. Everybody's into this match, hook, line, and sinker. Now watch this. Watch a drink of Coke. See? Anytime I get a chance to take a drink of Coke, beer, or water during a match, I will take it if it creatively lends itself to the match. And then I threw the Coke on Bret Hart. Okay, classic brawl back and forth. I'm going to drop his ass here on this rail. And then I'm going to attempt to take the Coke tray from the guy, but he won't give it to me because I was fixing to hit Bret with it. Look, dude won't let go of the Coke tray. And he's got that strap on. Okay, that gave Bret an opening. Here he comes. See, now you can't plan for stuff like this. This is just calling in the ring or outside the ring and just letting everything happens. It happens. And sometimes fighting out in the crowd can be a real pain in the ass. But everybody's cooperating with us. Get a couple of slaps on the back. People are very excited to see this action come right by them because, man, when you're about 100 yards from the ring and all of a sudden the action is right up next to you, up close and personal, it's pretty fun. Okay, now watch this. I'm fixing to shut Bret down. He's got me rocking here. He's kicking my ass. I always love Bret Hart's headbutts. Great headbutt there. I'm fixing to shut him down. I'm going to go for a pile driver. How many pile drivers you ever see me hit on the floor? One, maybe two at the most. Setting myself up for a backdrop. Okay, I should have picked his feet up higher for a better visual. Take the backdrop on the steps, a nice bump. It's time to take this thing back to the ring. Bret's already kind of got that worn-out look on his face, which he was so good at doing. Now, Bret never blows up, and he ain't blown up here, but he just looks like it's already been in a grind. Here I am, and I'm in premier shape. I had a busted leg, but I stopped drinking beer for a couple of weeks before this match, and I'm in premier condition too. Nice right hand by Bret. We're fixing to come in. Now watch, when he throws me over this guardrail, he's looking for me to feed up, but I didn't see him. So as he's perched on top of this guardrail, I needed to feed him something, but he ends up dropping down on me anyway. Watch this. He's perched up there, perfect position. I needed to feed him and didn't. Bam, so he jumps down on top of me. Okay, now Bret's been kicking my ass now. It's time to turn it around. He's going to send me into the stairs. I'm going to reverse it. Watch the stairs he takes and watch the cell job. Now, that's how you take some stairs. Crumpled up like a piece of trash. Man, that is a cell job and a half right there. Okay, here I come. I'm shaking this left leg out because, remember, this is the one that just started giving me problems. I hadn't been wearing that knee brace too long. giving the double birds, come off with a clothesline, down you go. Now watch this. I'm calling this. This is on the fly. I see the stairs there. Kick me. Kick me. That's what I'm telling him. I wanted to use the stairs as an offensive weapon, but they're so heavy I didn't want to hurt him, so I just wanted to use them as my foil. Boom. There's the gut shot I just instructed him to give me. Teeters me over backwards due to the weight of the stairs. Good excitement, a good high spot, and that was just called on the fly. There's Bret with some good right hands to my jaw. And I'm fixing to get back on top here using his waistband to throw him into this ring post. Boom. All right, shut him down. Time for me to get a little something in. Fixing to put him back here on top. Come in, we're going to kick him in the head a few times, and that's just his classic good. Couple of boots to the head, one more, and, of course, the trademark heel stomp on the hand. Here it is. It's open. Watch the sell job by Bret. Okay, watch the neck breaker. Tell him what he's got coming up. Boom, there he goes, wham. Selling this neck. Selling this neck. Bret, watch, still selling. Bret's still selling the head kicks. Goes up top. He's going to drop an elbow on the back of the neck. Continue to stay on that same body part. Fed up for him. Maintain position. Bret's got me in trouble. Bret's the aggressor. Bringing it to me. Look at that. Bret looks to got that tired huff and puffing going on. That's what always lent itself to the realism of a Bret Hart match. Now he's going to go to my leg. Just nice work on the leg, stretching out the hamstring. He's fixing to start pounding on that knee. It's the weak area. He's got that brace on it. That's been my Achilles tendon. Okay, watch this. Boom. See the way it came down on the leg? My knee was bent at the correct angle. You drop down with as much force as you can. It looks great, but doesn't hurt any. Me, in character, telling Ken Shamrock that I did not want to stop. Watch these nice elbows. Watch this elbow by Bret. Watch this second one. Man, you can't drop a better elbow on the inside of a leg than that. Looks devastating, aggressive. Just a hamstring stretcher here. He'll do one more and take me a flip over. Nice pacing. Bret's not in a hurry. We've got all the time in the world. Just pounding on that knee joint. Okay, now I've been selling for a pretty good while here now, and it's not my MO just to sell like this is babyface style, really. Okay, flip over. I'm going to call something here. Now, this is taken from the book of Curt Hennig. I'm not going to flip like Curt does, but this is where the inspiration comes from, right there. I used to love when Curt would cut the flip there. Okay, I'm calling the spot here. I'm going to move. Watch the stunner. Boom. It's time to get something in. I can't stay down for long. Can't sell forever. Stunner out of the blue. The reason the stunner, no kick, because he'd been working on my legs, so it didn't make sense to kick him. Okay, I'm crawling away from him, trying to buy time, trying to recoup that knee that he's damaged. I've just rang him up with a stunner. Now watch this. As I back into him, it'll be a blind feed, and I'll go to start grabbing him with my left hand. And, okay, he's going to kick that leg. He's going to kick that leg. Go for it. Okay, there's the kick. Now watch this other feed. I'm going to go for him with the right hand. He's going to shoot the peg out, going for my left knee. Boom. See, that's how you feed into something, trying to be on offense, but you're taking yourself out or putting yourself in position to be taken out. Here comes the figure four spot on the ring post. This was great. This is Bret's idea. I think he'd done this a couple of times. And actually, this is a very snug feel because you got 230 pounds hanging off your leg. It doesn't hurt in the true sense of the way I'm selling it, but, of course, I'm making it look like it's just killing me. Actually, it doesn't feel that bad, although certainly, if you wanted to torque on that thing and hang there all day, you could do some damage to someone's leg. Both of us spill out of the ring here. Here comes the drama. Get up, USOB, he says. Look at the timing. He just takes his time. Back in the ring we go. Bret's going to start working on that leg some more. Okay, now watch this. This was a plan to be able to use this bell later on during the match. So we're introducing the bell to be used later. And this is how we get into the final sharpshooter. And that was my idea because he had a different idea to getting that final sharpshooter, which I didn't like. I needed something to put me at a weakened state. So then it was great how I went for the bell, then grabbed the padded chair, decided that wasn't devastating enough, and grabbed the steel chair, which I had been used on Brian Pillman earlier when I broke his ankle, and did this exact same thing as I jumped off the second turnbuckle and broke his leg, allegedly. Taking his time here, using stories from the past to bring into the fold. Okay, I recover. He's taking too much time up there. Wham! Drew back, very big fashion, very visual, hopping around, selling the knee, still selling that knee. Now watch this, babyface fire. Now I'm a heel, but you got to have fire. Now F you, watch this, lines himself up perfectly for a perpendicular chair shot, laid it in. Still selling the leg, Okay, it's time to pick him up now. It's time to do a little bit of business here. And I picked him up, watch his slam. Why I slammed him like that, I have no idea. Okay, it's time to get in motion. You got to put a little exclamation point in here. Boom, watch the back turnbuckle. Out. Stone Cold is on top. Ken Shamrock out of the way. Here we go. Regular suplex coming here. Just time to go through some basic moves, reestablish my offense. Set him up for a Russian leg sweep. Boom, there's the chair shot. Here's the perpendicular chair shot. Boom. Okay, watch when I come off with this elbow, designed to go to the throat. I actually overshot him a little bit. Hit him in the chest. F you. Boom. Okay, walking around, awesome sell job by Bret. I mean, it looks like he's totally devastated here. Okay, now if there's one thing I love, it's just a shot to the gimmicks right there. That's just pure F-U domination. That's his daughter. She can't stand to watch what's going on here. Here comes the Russian leg sweep into the first submission hold. You see me make that call, but you can't see my mouth move. Boom. Leg over the top, back of the neck, grab the arm, submission. Now, Al Snow taught me the submission hold. I don't even know the name of it. But because I went into this match and didn't have a submission hold, I needed something to go to. We're going to follow this up with the Boston Crab, which everybody uses, and I'll explain what I would have done differently had we done this match again. Hanging on to the hold here, putting pressure on the neck, pulling the arm back. Finally, I see that it's not going to work. It's time to go back on some more offense. There's old Stu Hart. Watch when he shows Bret here in pain, and you see how similar Bret and Stu look. Of course, legendary Stu Hart, the basement Calgary Stampede Wrestling. Okay, Boston Crab applied here. Okay, putting the pressure on. Look at this sell by Bret. That's great selling right there. Perfect sell. Okay, Bret making his way to the ropes here. Here's what I wish I would have done. Okay, he's going to grab that rope. Right now, I wish I would have drug his ass back to the center of the ring and held on for another 30 seconds to a minute and made him crawl back to the ropes. Hindsight being 20/20, that's what I would have done. Okay, now, best way to beat a man is with his own finish. Exaggerating the step in for the sharpshooter. Oh, man, this is adding insult to injury right here. But Bret rakes the eyes. Blinds me. Do the sell over here, selling the eyes. Bret's coming up, needs to regain his composure. Now watch this sell job. Shots to the midsection. Boom. Nice body work by Bret. Getting ready for some color here. This is what you're going to watch for. Okay, watch the side step. Okay. Watch the right hand of Bret. Watch the mouth. Okay, there's something in the hand. Right now I'm just buying time, getting in position. I don't care if the crowd boos me or cheers me. I'm getting a mixture of both. 70% boos, I would say. Now, when I lean down to pick up Bret, it's not like he says it's too late. I'm telling him, I said judgment call. It's a reversal into the barricade, meaning we got these people hook, line, and sinker. I don't care if you cut me or not. Okay, watch the hand position. Watch my right tricep because he'll hit me in the back of the arm. Boom, right there. Color on the back of the arm. How he gets color on me so fast here is just the mark of absolute wonder with the blade. Now watch this. When I slung my head there, look at the blood on Jerry Lawler's right hand. Okay, I've already got color. I'm checking out. The tricep is bleeding because I accidentally got poked. And here I am just doing a gauging process, checking to see what the blood flow is, and it's good. Many years later, Jerry Lawler showed me his notes that he had in his briefcase, and he's still got those notes to this day. When I slung my head, blood splattered all over his notes, and Jerry Lawler still has those notes back from WrestleMania 13. Nice work by Bret. That cut, folks, is only about a 1/4 inch long. It might be an 1/8 inch deep. It was just the placing of the cut that allowed it to bleed so good. Sometimes people get overdone with the color, and it's too much. This was just an absolute perfect blend. And me being bald-headed, no hair with a goatee, blood looks good on my skin tone and works well with me. And listen to this crowd pop when they show this other side. Right here, the crowd pops because they see that blood pouring out of my head, and now they know they're in for something special. Here's where Bret really gets mean and goes into just a very aggressive mode of attacking the injury at hand. He's opened me up. He's going to just squat down on me and just pound that cut. Those punches look like $1 million. Truth is, I can barely feel them. Now, when you get color, you never want to wipe your head on the mat or on another guy's trunks. There's a couple of times I accidentally wiped my head off on the turnbuckle and then on the mat and then on Bret's leg. So you never want to wipe your color off once you get it, but sometimes inadvertently it happens. Backbreaker on the part of Bret Hart. Bret always likes to go to his bread and butter, and he does his trademark moves. He's going to come off here with a big elbow in the throat. Wham. Perfect execution by Bret. Blotted my head on the mat. Now, boy, I tell you what, we left, that ring was bloody as hell by the time we left. Okay, now, here's Bret going with a chair to the weak point of Stone Cold Steve Austin. He had me right where he wanted me, and he takes the easy way out by using a chair. I think the announcers say only a coward would use a chair. Okay, he's got me right where he wants me. He softened the leg up. Time to go for the sharpshooter. Watching Bret steps into that sharpshooter. When Bret's really going to apply that sharpshooter, he does it with much more deliberation. Okay, time to get out and rake the eyes. Good color on my part. Good sell by Bret. Now clearly, he's a stronger man. I just raked his eyes. He's been beating me up. He's got power here. Watch the sell job. Perfect position. That's just ring position, using your wherewithal, how to position yourself is a great sell to accomplish that in the ring. Hang on to those ropes. Now here's the low one down around Saskatoon when you listen to this commentary from Jim Ross. Here it is. Wham. Perfect sell job by Bret. Now, had I done this match over, I would have stayed here for 30 to 60 seconds. I would not have moved. Both guys doubled down. Just stay. Now watch. You'll see me scrambling for these ropes here. And I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to miss the rope. I'm using it with every strength. Okay, I should have stayed there for 30 to 60 seconds to draw those people in even more. But now is the time to put some exclamation points in the match. It's been a back-and-forth brawl with not too much pieces of acceleration. Now it's time to accelerate. The time is now. Pick Bret up. Okay, babyface kind of really type thing, or heel, but it's a mean streak, and it's time to get it. Wham, 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 bam, 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 F you, wham. That last kick may have been a little bit snug, and that's fire, and that was real. That was like, hey, man, you've been kicking my ass. Now you're going to get yours. Tell Bret when I put him up on his turnbuckle, I was going to go for a superplex off the top, but my bottom of my feet had a little bit of blood on them, and the ropes were slipping. I didn't want to fall off, so right there I tell Bret, suplex off the second. Okay, you never like to see a guy reach his arm around your neck, but watch this double sell job. Oh, and it rang me up too. Look at Bret, man. You can't sell no much more than that. There's me. Okay, now Bret's going to call something here, but I'm going to call an audible. I'm ready for the extension cord here. There was 5 things we knew were going to happen. This was one of them. Bret wanted to go one way. There's a little hesitation there. I called it. I overrode him. Watch this. Wipe the color off on the turnbuckle. Damn, you hate to do that. You work so hard to get that color, and then it gets wiped off. This extension cord. Watch when I wrap this extension cord. The visual of one wrap wouldn't be enough, so I used 3 wraps. So you really get the picture of the deliberate attempt to choke the life out of this guy with an extension cord. 1, 2, 3. Okay, grab this thing up. Remember we brought that ring bell a while ago? Well, here's where we're finally going to use it to get into the sharpshooter. And Bret Hart just rang Steve Austin's bell, as Jim Ross goes on to say. What a perfect line. What a perfect line. Okay, here's the jeopardy. We wanted Bret to catch me from behind, out of the blue, into the sharpshooter. We needed a way to do it. That bell was the ticket. Watch the deliberation Bret uses. When he's going to get the sharpshooter, see, it's a total different body language. He gets it. I'm in trouble. Crowd goes absolutely crazy. A lot of times when you go to get color, your blood will start coagulating or clotting. Luckily, that wasn't the case in this match. Nope, I'm not going to quit. And I'm laying there. Watch this blood pool up underneath my head. Ken Shamrock, perfect position. Perfect position. Bret applying the sharpshooter. Now, I'm draining. I got cotton mouth like a son of a gun here. Blood dripping off the temple of my head. Perfect cut by Bret. All right, now it looks like I'm winding down. Okay, this is babyface as hell. Now, at the time, I was just thinking about painting a visual picture, but when you look at it, it's just guy digging in, bridging up. Look at that blood flowing out of that damn head. Change the camera angle, and one of the most iconic moments in the history of pro wrestling right there. Here's what I would have done different had I gone back. Fighting, bridging up. I would have reversed that. I would have put Bret in the sharpshooter right here if I could redo this match. Bret maintains top position and reapplies the sharpshooter. But if I'd have put him in the sharpshooter, then he bridged out and put me back in it, I think it could have taken the match to even another level, hindsight being 20/20. One final bridge up. This is total desperation. I'm losing everything I got here. I'm about to fade out. Look at the arms, look at the hands. I'm done. At this point in the match, I closed my eyes and just laid there for the next 5 minutes. Look at all that blood in there. You talk about a day at the office. This was nothing but pure fun. Now, at this point, I'm just listening to the crowd. I know we've accomplished the task at hand, and I know we knocked it out of the ballpark. I'm laying in a pool of blood. This is the greatest feeling in the world. All right, Ken Shamrock raising Bret's arm as the winner. Bret just really, talking about a hard-fought battle. All right, he's going to get up on the turnbuckle, signify his win. I'm just laying there, man. I know we've accomplished everything we set out. Watch the back end of this match as the storyline continues. There's no reason to really hate Bret right now because he hasn't really done anything to really say that he was a heel. Now, if you listen to the commentary at home, if he took a few shortcuts using the chair, but it was all warranted within the structure of the match. But watch the story keep unfolding. Referee Ken Shamrock just, pacing around. Bret celebrating the win. And if he didn't do enough damage, now because he's starting to turn into a piece of trash, he's going to go back to the leg of Stone Cold and start inflicting more pain after getting the victory. Okay, there's Ken. Come on, man. Why are you doing this? Back off. Watch a sidestep. Perfect sidestep by Bret. Okay, he's going to give me more. Okay, belly to back. Here's a suplex by Ken on Bret. Great pop. Good fire by Ken. Bret really taking this in. Does he want any more? After being in the battle he's just been through, does he want any of Ken Shamrock? The crowd wants to see it. Good job of Ken going to the crowd, egging it on. Bret played it perfect. He didn't cower down like a chicken. He bowed out. Now looking at the crowd, letting them buy into it. Look at the expression, perfect expressions, perfect sell job by Bret. Someone's happy to see him. Now watch these people start shooting the finger at him. He's pissed a lot of people off. Okay, now he's inciting. Awesome job. Awesome performance by Bret the Hitman Hart. Now this is my idea. We're in the process. We executed a double turn, but there's work on the back end to be done by both Bret and myself. I wanted someone to stun at the end of this match, so I didn't just come off as a babyface. Wham! Botchmania stunner. I just wanted to make sure that I stayed true to my character, so I wanted to have a sacrificial lamb in there, and that was an audible I called with Vince and said, hey, man, I'd like to have someone to stun. And now listen to the commentary here when you come back and watch this match again. Jerry Lawler does a great job explaining why Bret should not be proud of this victory. Vince McMahon talks about the color and how you rarely see this. And, he was calling for the medical help. But I was almost damn near a shoot on him talking about the blood. And, of course, Jim Ross really bringing home the bottom line of turning these people here in such a gutsy performance as he's never seen in his life before. And right then, when I turned around just briefly to pause because there was a crowd, there was a good section of those people chanting, Austin, 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 I recognized and I let them in just a little bit. I didn't want to over milk that part of the process yet because there was still work to be done. And I didn't want to just say, yeah, I'm a babyface, or yeah, I'm on board with you cheering me, because I never needed anybody's support from the get-go. I always believed in myself, and that was the only support system that I needed was me. So that's why I didn't play to that crowd more. There's Jerry Lawler stating his case. Here's Jim Ross. I mean, when you listen to Jim Ross, the passion with which he speaks and the knowledge, look at that close-up of the blood, all that. That's a lot of blood I lost that night, man. But listen to the passion with which Jim Ross delivers that message and the way Vince always knows the storylines there, talking about that color. Again, Bret Hart, saying that he risked his career. The biggest thing to me about when Bret said, Steve, if you're going to pass out in the sharpshooter, you need to have color. Because what he was saying was it'd make me look weak if we didn't have color. The visual would be better. He was 100% right. He hit the button. He hit it right on the nose. And so it was very, very unselfish of Bret because he wasn't looking out for Bret Hart. He was looking out for Stone Cold Steve Austin. His knowledge in the business, at this point in his career, he'd probably been in close to 20 years, if not longer, and was a tried and true veteran who could work his ass off, and he's one of my favorites of all time, and he should be anybody's favorite of all time. That's how good he was in the ring. But he was purely looking out for the other side of Steve Austin because, we were going to have the match, and we were going to, execute exactly what Vince told us to do, and we did, but it was his idea for the color. I didn't cut myself because I was afraid of the razor blade. I'd gotten color many times in USWA, many times in WCW. It was something that I look forward to anytime a booker promoter asked me because I enjoyed getting color in a match. And I'm not condoning cutting or any other silly stuff, but with respect to pro wrestling back in that time period, I enjoyed bleeding when it was time to bleed. And it was Bret Hart's idea to bring that color into the match. And that would put me over the top as a babyface. So, once again, that was a very unselfish and a very giving thing that Bret Hart did for me by saying, if we do this, you need to do that so that you come out further down the road. And he was right, because if Bret Hart would have never brought that up, would have never said, hey, Steve, we've got to do this so you come out whole on the other side, it would have never happened because there was an anti-color policy going on in the WWF, and that's how that happened. It wasn't because I was afraid of the blade. It was just Bret Hart's instincts being dead on about the match, and he was right. Here's some afternotes. That was basically the match. That's how we led into the match. Again, listen to the commentary when you go back and watch this match. Listen to the picture that the commentating team is painting before the match starts and during the match and after the match is over. Now, as you guys saw me walk back through that entrance, all the way till you get to the back of the curtain. I kayfabed until I got into the dressing room, just because every now and then there's some fans or celebrities or marks back there that have been given a pass. And so you always maintain your composure until you get in private. Now, in my heart, I felt like we had knocked the ball out of the park with the bases loaded. All of a sudden, guys started coming up to me in the dressing room, and they said, "Man, dude, that was unbelievable. What a match." And I said, "Man, you think so?" And I said, "Yeah, man, that was badass." And I remember Triple H coming up to me and saying, he just shook my hand. He goes, "Dude, that was a hell of a match." And then Michael PSAs told me it was a hell of a match, and a lot of people did. And I remember taking a shower that night. That was about a 15-minute shower to get all that blood off, and I ain't got no hair. And I went down to can't remember where we were staying that night in Chicago, but I remember going down to the lounge, had a Band-Aid on my head, and I had about 2 or 3 beers. And that's all I needed to have, because I'd lost so much blood in that match. My blood was so low or thin that I didn't need too much alcohol in my system to get a buzz. And I'll never forget that match with Bret the Hitman Hart. And the disappointment that I had going into the match, because I wasn't a submission wrestler. I didn't want a submission match. And I thought we were going to stink the joint out and have an average match at best. And when it was all said and done, we blew the main event out of the water. The main event was Sid versus Undertaker. And I say that with all due respect, because I know both men and consider them both friends. We don't talk very much. But that was one of those nights where, I've had people steal the match of the night from me, such as the first blood match I had with Kane, in which Undertaker and Mankind, Mick Foley, worked before in the Hell in a Cell match and crushed it, knocked it out of the park in one of the best matches in the history of pro wrestling. So sometimes, you just have a match that goes on before your match where that crowd will never be the same. They've drained so much energy that match is still in their minds that you can't follow that match. No one was able to follow that match that night, so we stole the show. And, again, I've had matches stole from me before, so I'm not sitting there bragging about it. It was just one of those occasions where all the stars lined up. Everything that Bret and I did inside the ring made sense. The crowd was in hook, line, and sinker. But to clarify, when I told Bret, judgment call, I didn't say, "Hey, man, we don't need to do this," and he says, "Too late now." That's not what happened. I'm telling you exactly what happened. Bret is very close to the truth. But I called a match. You can see me calling a match. And that being said, there's not too many calls being made, because it was truly just pure work. And when I say I'm calling this, you're not seeing any mouth moving. You got a bald-headed guy with positioning to camera and facing of the opponent. You're never going to see my mouth move. So anyway, that is my recollection of WrestleMania 13. I hope you've enjoyed this match. I enjoyed it. Go back and rewatch it. Listen and watch for the things that I told you to watch for, and that's the bottom line. Hey, folks, I'm coming right back with my match of the week, and my match of the week is WrestleMania 13, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret the Hitman Hart. I might as well give you that right now, because we spent so much time talking about it. You got to dig it. I'm flapping my gums right now. I'm fixing to go pack my RV. I'm getting ready to head to South Texas. I've got some great guests coming up on the show, and I got some merch over there at BrokenSkullRanch.com on the merch button. All right, everybody, time for my match of the week. It's on the WWE Network. We've been talking about it all day. You can get the WWE Network for $9.99 a month. Just go to WWE.com and find out how to sign up. And, folks, obviously, the match of the week is WrestleMania 13. I just got finished talking about the match for about an hour. So, as you watched it with me, talking about the download, the 411 coming in and out of that match, some of the random facts I've also given you, go back and watch this match. Watch the work, watch the story, but listen to the commentary. Watch and listen to the entire picture that everybody's painting as this match takes place. 2 guys in the ring are working against each other, and Ken Shamrock is there is a special referee and does an outstanding job. Great energy, great enforcement of the rules, great positioning by him and everything that he did. Obviously, tremendous work, and I'll be commentating on the work that Bret Hart and myself did as the match went on. But listen to the commentary from the word go. When I come out for my entrance, Bret Hart comes out for his entrance. Through the body of the match, listen to the commentary of the picture that's being painted. And now when you go back and you know what to listen and look for, and this was a special match. It was a match of the year, one of the greatest matches in the history of WrestleMania, and it still holds up to this day. If this match was going on in a bar somewhere and you were watching it, you'd still think it was a shoot. But listen to everyone involved in this match. Watch the work, listen to the commentary, and it all adds up to a hell of an experience. And it would be nice if the wrestling business was still like this today. Not necessarily with the blood, but nonetheless, this is the way that I think wrestling should be presented, as real can be. And, folks, appreciate you guys hitting on the download button on the podcast each week. We got the family-friendly show on Tuesdays, like today's show, Unleashed on Thursdays. I appreciate you hitting the subscribe button on iTunes. And if you subscribe to both shows, you'll never miss an episode. And if you like what you hear, tell your friends about it, because I ain't got no advertising budget to make some fancy TV commercials to spread the word. All we got is you, me, and a couple other folks to let people around the world know about the 2 cans of audio whoop-ass I open up every single week. I've got some great guests coming up to the show. I'm not going to drop any names because if somebody knows shows, that makes me look bad. But I've got some great guests coming to the show. I'm going to get back to interviewing people. I've just been slammed doing back-to-back projects in regards to Redneck Island, which is season premiere is December 4th. Broken Skull Challenge, season premiere on January 4th. And doing some other stuff. So hopefully I'm going to have some guests on here real quick. Well, not hopefully, I am. But anyway, gang, it takes money to keep the show going. I appreciate y'all using the Amazon links. Anytime you do your shopping, if y'all go to the Amazon links, it helps support the show. And you can find all of my Amazon links, Amazon USA, UK, and Canada, at PodcastOne.com. Just click on the Keep Our Podcast Free banner at the top of the page, hit the Steve Austin Show button, and they ain't going to charge you nothing extra, no hidden fees, all that stuff. I'm not telling you to buy anything, but if you want to support the show, that's the best way you can support the show. The best thing to do is once you get there, bookmark it. That way you just hit one button, you're on Amazon.com, and you're doing your shopping, and you're supporting the Steve Austin Show. Bookmark it. Save yourself some time, efficiency, one-click shop, help a brother out. Hey, folks, until next time, I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of WrestleMania 13. And until the next one, I will catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
Hey, man, do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to Geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit Geico.com today. That's Geico.com.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Big Brother Jake, a.k.a. Jake Warner, my government name. Check it out. I host a show called the Big Brother Jake Podcast. And I've taken my talents to the biggest and baddest platform on the planet. That's right, baby. Podcast One. My show is unique as I talk about everything. Life, sports, entertainment, being a single dad juggling several jobs. I'm a hot mess, but it's damn entertaining. Subscribe and review now on Apple Podcasts and listen on Podcast One or wherever you get your podcasts.